Hey guys, welcome back to my Wario Land Marathon. Last time we took a look at Wario Land for the Game Boy, and I had a few issues with it, but overall thought it was decent and showed some potential. Today, we'll be looking at its follow-up, Virtual Boy Wario Land. Despite the fact that I bought the game on cartridge, I don't actually own a Virtual Boy, so I had to emulate it for this review. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the emulator working properly, and the footage all recorded in 3D, so I decided, fuck it. Starting now, this review is in 3D. Looks cool, doesn't it? Hope you guys got your 3D glasses ready. Let's dive right into Virtual Boy Wario Land.
Virtual Boy Wario Land begins with a shot of Wario sleeping in a cave. Wario is awoken to some bad guys trying to make off with his treasure, so he runs after them. After just barely missing them before they throw his treasure into their loophole, all of Wario's rare treasures fly away for some reason. I honestly have no idea what's going on here. Granted, I'm not left as confused as I was from Wario Land 1's intro cutscene, but I still barely understand what's happening. From what I can tell, some bad guys steal Wario's treasure, so Wario goes on an adventure to defeat them and get back his treasure. It's a very simple premise, but it works well enough. It definitely leaves Wario as a more likable character than Wario Land 1 did, and it's a little bit better explained in-game as well. Only a little bit though. Overall, it's a serviceable plot that, while similar to Wario Land 1's plot, serves as an improvement. The plot isn't the only element of this game that's similar to the first Wario Land game though. In fact, a lot of this game takes cues from the original and builds off of it. For example, the visuals in this game are pretty great, despite this whole red and blue mess. The sprites are detailed and well animated just like both, and the backgrounds look better than the original with added parallax scrolling. Now, you know the original Virtual Boy only output video in black and red, making everything very hard to look at, and because of that, pretty much every game had points taken off of it for the visuals alone, but if you do play this on an emulator where the colors aren't straining your eyes, I think what you'll see is pretty nice looking. Rather than having different worlds that are named after foods like in the first game, Virtual Boy Wario Land puts every level in order to fit the aesthetic of climbing upwards through a large cave system. This results in even less variety in level themes than the first game, which many may see as a downgrade, but personally I prefer having one theme that's built upon and pushed to its limit over an unfocused generic mess. This game really focuses on nailing the atmosphere of a cave, and I think it did a wonderful job. This is also partially due to the music. In my last review, I complained that Wario Land tried to do slower, more atmospheric music, but ultimately failed, and I'm happy to say that this time around they've done a much better job of that. In fact, almost the entire soundtrack is made up of quieter, more atmospheric music. While it's not on the levels of VVV or Donkey Kong Country, it does a pretty good job of immersing you into the game's world. The only complaint I have about the soundtrack is at the very start of the game. When you boot up the game, Wario is seen flying in on an airplane with some quiet tones, only for it to fucking scream at you with this loud-ass siren noise. It's not bad, it's just really jarring and made me physically jump the first time it happened because I had my computer's volume up so high. Other than that, it's a pretty solid soundtrack that takes what the first game tried to do but failed and succeeds and improves it drastically. Like I mentioned before, Virtual Boy Wario Land uses Wario Land 1 as a kind of base game to build off of, and that's most prevalent in the gameplay. You'll notice right off the bat that Virtual Boy Wario Land has a lot of similar aspects to the original Wario Land, including the breakable blocks, hidden treasures, a similar power-up and combat system, and exploration and puzzle-based gameplay. But in this game, all that is cranked up to 11. In the first game, there were 15 treasures hidden across over 30 levels with no indication of which levels did and didn't have treasures in them. But in this game, every level has a rare treasure hidden in it. However, this time around there are only 10 levels and 4 bosses. The levels in this game are longer than the first game, with a lot more secret areas to find throughout each level. In the first game, there were maybe 1 or 2 secrets to find in each level, and while they were rewarding to find, there just weren't enough of them, leaving many levels feeling empty. This time around, each level in the game is filled to the brim with secrets, some that you have to solve little puzzles to get to, some that are hidden underneath breakable blocks, and many that make use of the Virtual Boy's gimmick. Now, in case you're uninformed on the Virtual Boy, it was a short-lived handheld that was touted as the first 3D gaming machine, as it made use of depth in a very unique way from other systems. However, due to the restricted visuals only allowing games to be displayed in red and black, this only served to give its users headaches and other similar health issues. Anyway, Virtual Boy Wario Land uses this to its advantage by having a separate background layer that you can jump between by jumping on these little arrow blocks. This basically makes it so that there are 2 interconnected levels that you're playing on at the same time. Many levels use this for complicated mazes and obtuse puzzles that are pretty satisfying to solve. Once you uncover a secret area, you're usually rewarded with a bunch of coins or a power-up or a 1-up, but sometimes you get the secret treasure. Unlike the first Wario Land where you had to break open the chest to get the treasure, here they're just sitting on top of the chest, so there's no need to worry if you're Small Wario. Speaking of Small Wario, let's go over the power-ups real quick. The Garlic and Bull Wario items returned from the first game, but that's all that returns this time around. The Dragon power-up is replaced with the Sea Dragon power-up, which, for all intents and purposes, is the same thing. It replaces Wario's dash ability with an attack that shoots fire, but this time it's a lot easier to control. Instead of just pressing the button and watching the flamethrower go for a few seconds, the fire will only come out while you have the button pressed, and if you hold it for too long, it dies out and takes a second to recharge. It's a small change to the original, but definitely a better one. The jet power-up also got a new counterpart for this game with the Eagle power-up. This allows Wario to take flight by mashing the B button. It also allows Wario to do a little dash in midair, which you can even jump out of, but that's not too useful. The reason it's not that useful is because of the new power-up. The Eagle and Fire power-ups can be combined to turn Wario into the King Dragon Wario, which shoots out little dragon-shaped flames when you press B and keeps Eagle Wario's flight ability. This acts as the ultimate power-up and is your go-to for all puzzle solving. Sometimes you'll just need Eagle Wario's flight to solve a puzzle, sometimes you'll just need the flamethrower to solve a puzzle, and rarely you'll need both. But as long as you keep this power-up, you'll be fine. However, this game is actually pretty hard. One thing I complained about in the Wario Land 1 review was the checkpoint system, and to solve the issues it had, this game removes them completely. Considering the levels are longer and harder than in the last game, I feel like this wasn't the best move, but since there are only 10 levels, it's really not that big of an issue. Other than that, every aspect of this game is a great improvement over the original Wario Land, except for one, the game over system. While in the last game it was bad because you would have to remember which level the treasure you lost was in this game it's bad because if you lose a treasure, you have to go all the way backwards through the level to get back to where the treasure was, get the treasure, and then go back through the level the normal way again. Why couldn't they just add some kind of exit level feature in the pause menu for levels you've already beaten? What makes this even worse is when you game over to the final boss. Once you get all the way to the end of the cave, you find out who's behind this whole treasure stealing scheme. Ghost Satan. I have no idea what this thing is or where it comes from, but I do know that it fills me with pure rage just to look at it. This motherfucker is the absolute worst thing in this entire game. The rest of the bosses are fine. They're challenging, interesting, and engaging, and all make for pretty fun fights, though the third one can be a little annoying. But the final boss is absolute AIDS. You have to dodge his attacks where he smacks his hands down, and then he'll either swoop his hands across the platform or shoot fire at you. If he shoots fire, you're pretty much dead, because this shit is impossible to avoid. You see, during this fight, you can jump back and forth between the foreground and background, with the background layer immediately pushing you back to the foreground as soon as you touch it. However, if you bounce into the boss, he cuts off your bounce and sends you back early. This would be fine if his hitbox was consistent at all, but I noticed that sometimes I would bounce off of him like you're supposed to, and other times I would just go right through him. You attack this boss by waiting out his hand attack and his second attack, followed by bouncing into his nose when he floats upwards. But the hitbox for his nose is near impossible to hit with how fast he moves and him turning invisible for half the time he's vulnerable. And then if you game over on this fight, which you will if you're playing this game blind, you have to go backtrack through the entire final level to the very beginning where the hidden treasure is located and then go all the way back through it. And it's the longest, most difficult, most complicated level to navigate in the entire game. All this just to get another shot at the boss with only 3 lives to attempt it with. After my first game over, I decided to just save state since I was at my last life and didn't want to have to go all the way through that level again. But then the emulator fucked up and save stated on the wrong slot, while I was dying. So what happens when you beat this boss? I don't know, I never did. I was so mad at the save state bullshit and so tired of fighting this boss that I just gave up. I do know, however, that there are multiple endings and a new Game Plus mode that unlocks after beating the game with all treasures, so if you finish the game feeling like it was too easy or too short, which you will since a blind 100% run will only take about 3 hours, there's some more for you to do. Overall, Virtual Boy Wario Land is Wario Land 1 done right. It takes the formula of Wario Land and improves upon almost every single aspect of it. The puzzles are more fleshed out, the levels have a lot more to do in them, the soundtrack is way better, and the gameplay in general is just a lot more consistent and engaging. Aside from the final boss being total ass, it's a very fun game that I would recommend you guys try out. That is, if you can get a good Virtual Boy emulator working. I'll tell you right now, Mednafen is the way to go if you're going to try this game out on emulator. I mean, you could play it on the actual Virtual Boy itself, but that would just be physically unpleasant, not to mention how expensive it would be. Since there's been no official releases of any Virtual Boy games as of now, I would just recommend using Mednafen. Anyway, this game is great, try it out.
So, that wraps it up for Virtual Boy Wario Land. I want to thank you guys for all the help and feedback you guys left on my last video. It really means a lot to me how constructive and nice everyone's been. But that does it for this video. Next time we'll be taking a look at Wario Land 2 for the Game Boy Color to see what it does better or different from Wario Land 1 and Virtual Boy Wario Land. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.